Ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and MBs from all around the world, as of today, the arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court for war criminals, Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and war criminal Defense Minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, have officially been filed. They are now officially war criminals who will not be able to go to any of the ICC countries under the Rome Statute without fear of being arrested, only to be put on trial at The Hague. That's right. For once, these institutions, these international institutions of justice, for once, have shown resilience, have shown a backbone, a moral backbone, and done the right thing. Lock them up! Lock them up!
We interrupt our programming on Al Jazeera to bring you some breaking news. And the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for alleged war crimes in the Gaza Strip. It's also issued warrants for Hamas leader Mohammed Diab.
Really dumb American, but why the fuck isn't the U.S. a part of the ICC? What do you mean, dog? International organs of justice and the United Nations are simple tools of American hegemonic power, or at least historically, they have been used as tools for the West to enact whatever its agenda is. Unequal extraction of natural resources from the global South, permanent war against America's enemies or against enemies of the West. But today is a different day as America's power on the global stage wanes. Many Americans are terrified of the prospect of a Chinese future. But in the interim period, given Israel's unconscionable actions, given the Israeli government's inhumanity and consistent violence, unending violence, regardless of America's protection, America's attack dog gets at least one mark on its track record, on its otherwise stainless history. These institutions do not work against America or its allies. This is the first ever instance in my lifetime where I have seen this, okay? This is fantastic. Not just in your lifetime. It's the first time since World War II it's been used against a Western nation. And I mean, that's when it was created. Feeling this tweet right now? Yeah. Firm believer in international rule-based order right now until Biden nukes The Hague. Western nation in the center of the Middle East. Brother, if you think Israel is not simply an extension of the United States of America and its imperial ambitions in the region, I don't know what to tell you. You might have been in a coma over the past year. Israel is America. Israel is not just any Western nation. It is America. It is an extension of the United States of America. America says jump. Israel says how high, which is precisely the reason why all this Biden is so powerless in the face of Benjamin Netanyahu. Conversations were so goddamn frustrating for me because, yes, that's what it looked like. And Bibi was dog walking him for sure and taking advantage of his senility and his also rabid Zionism. Having said that, however, ultimately, this was still a part of America's imperial ambition, and I think they overstepped. This is why I said Palestine and Israel's genocide over Palestinians has laid bare for all to see the Western world's depravity. Okay, straight up, things are changing. The entire world is witnessing in my opinion, very consequential change in the way things have worked so far. Is the arrest warrant released after the SA case at the ICJ? No. The International Court of Justice prosecutes nations. The International Criminal Court prosecutes people. So the ICC prosecution is for individuals that happen to be in charge of nations doing a genocide. And for the record, a lot of people say, Hassan, you say America bad, but why do you always say America bad, but you never follow it up? Well, those people go, la, 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 I can't hear you when I follow it up. You must understand something very important right now. It is not an accident that every single senator and every single congressperson in the United States of America, with the exception of like a handful, are currently tweeting like they're Sephiroth. They're all out there tweeting like anime villains. They're baying for blood. They're seeing red. They're like, we have to nuke The Hague. Down to the wire, down to the likes of Thomas Cotton. The ICC is a kangaroo court and Kareem Khan is a deranged fanatic. Woe to him and anyone who tries to enforce these outlaw warrants. Let me give them all a friendly reminder. The American law on the ICC is known as the Hague Invasion Act for a reason. Think about it. Whoo! they're cackling all right. Woo, the U.S. rejected the warrant. We knew that they were going to reject the warrant. They have been actively pressuring the ICC's warrant application to not go through until this very moment. So that is not surprising to me, nor is it shocking to me. America can say whatever the fuck it wants. They will cope and they will seethe. EU Secretary of State. Oh God, I'm so hard right now. I'm not even hard. I'm just elated. Okay. You, if you defend Israel, okay, suck my dick. Woo! So good. Oh, it feels so good. We're playing propaganda again. Yes, this is a very famous pro-Palestinian song. So of course it's inherently going to be considered anti-Semitic because the existence of Palestine and the existence of Palestinians and any sort of mention of Palestine or Palestinians is inherently anti-Semitic according to those who choose to silence any sort of criticism. So do they also disagree with the decision to issue warrants against Hamas leaders? No, that part also is like so inconsequential in the grand scheme of things because that part is expected. The unexpected part is that someone that is firmly within the American sphere of influence, but not necessarily just in the American sphere of influence, but also protected by the American government so thoroughly could ever be declared a war criminal. This is unique. This is new. This is a welcomed correction. Oh my God. Also, most of the Palestinian leadership that they declared war criminals for October 7 have been assassinated by Israel regardless. So this was this is exactly what I thought as well. State Department press briefing canceled for today. Oh no. Oh no. Please do not laugh at this. State departments only do this when they are in great distress. Okay. Citizens arrest time, baby. Citizens arrest time, baby. Something I noticed in my EU country subreddit suddenly seemed to be much more pro-Palestine after this warrant. Typical just a week ago, it was people who are pro-Israel. Yeah, a lot of liberals do care about these institutions. They have not had the same cynical framework that I have been operating with because I wasn't just cynical. I was just realistic about the way things work, right? They do care about that sort of thing. So it'll be much, much, much harder for them, I think, to defend this. Yeah, look at that. Look at the retaliation. Award-winning investigative journalist fighting for the truth. ICC judges, we know that in reality we don't have jurisdiction, but let's try and arrest the Jews anyway. The ICC's a anti-Semitic kangaroo court. They want to arrest us for doing a bit of war crimes. Israeli Prime Minister also called it a anti-Semitic. The anti-Semitic decision of the International Criminal Court is a modern Dreyfus trial and will end the same way. Israel utterly rejects the false and absurd charges of the International Criminal Court, a biased and discriminatory political body. No war is more just than the war Israel has been waging in Gaza since October 7, 2023, when Hamas terrorist organization launched a murderous assault and perpetrated the largest massacre against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. The decision to issue an arrest warrant against the prime minister was made by a corrupt chief prosecutor who was trying to save himself from sexual harassment. See, this is what I mean, bro. Immediately, they were like, what can we do here? What can we do about Kareem Khan? Oh, he's a sexual assaulter, actually. And it was funny because, like, even Western media that normally would, jump to cover these sorts of things because they love this sort of shit, were like, yeah, well, we want to take the allegations seriously. The timing of them were quite interesting. It could be potentially a made up by Israel. Come on, dude. He said, calling us war criminals for doing a genocide is anti-Semitic. Also, you're a sexual harasser. The ICC prosecutor lied when he told American senators that he would take no action until he had visited Israel and heard its side. Instead, he canceled his arrival in Israel last May, several days after suspicions of sexual harassment were made against him, and announced his intention to issue arrest warrants against Prime Minister and former defense minister. No anti-Israel decision will prevent the state of Israel from defending its citizens. Notice how he's mentioning sexual harassment twice now. I think the sexual assault allegations are actually credible, but it's obviously irrelevant as to whether Netanyahu is guilty. Look, man, all I'm going to say is this, okay? It has no bearing on Kareem Khan's prosecution of Israel, okay? The state that literally was like, oh, shit, we might actually get in trouble. Let's use complementarity to our advantage and prosecute some of the people that were doing mass rapes in the prisons. And then they couldn't even do that because they had an armed January 6th style rebellion where they forcibly freed the rapist and made him a television star. The Israeli Knesset members turned around and were like talking about how, you don't understand. Actually, the IDF does have a right to rape Palestinians. The fuck are you talking about? Get the fuck out of here. They had a rape January 6th, man. The fuck do you mean? Some of you motherfuckers have no way of looking at a situation like this and immediately jump whatever. Like, it works. It works for a lot of you. Look, I've never read a Western media report that immediately was like, there was sexual harassment allegations, but the timing of that is very suspicious considering how much Israel has tried to intervene in the ICC. I'm sorry. They could be credible. They could. Okay. But if you think this has any bearing on this prosecution, you are delusional, and you're the biggest goddamn mark, the biggest sucker, the biggest rube of all time. Okay. It's like the former prosecutor, they literally personally harassed the former prosecutor before Kareem Khan. You understand that, right? Like, they surveilled the former prosecutor before Kareem Khan. They got America to place sanctions on the former prosecutor before Kareem Khan. Yeah, they were stalking her. I covered it extensively. Israeli spy chief threatened ICC prosecutor over war crimes inquiry. They tapped her phones to see exactly what she was actually going to create a case around so they could go back and like do some sort of prosecution to be like, what are you talking about? You can't interfere in our affairs. We're a democratic organization. We have democratic governance. We actually investigate our own war crimes, specifically the ones that, we figured out by surveilling and tapping the phones of the former ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda to see exactly which war crimes she was actually focusing on so that we could actually use complementarity to our advantage as a deflection, as a shield. It's insane, okay? The well is endless for depravity. Just to help you understand a little bit about what is going on here. And there's a lot to talk about, but let's finish this Channel 4 thing and then we'll talk about
starving children, dangerously malnourished. Amputations performed without anesthetic.
Yeah, remember, it's important to also remember why Benjamin Netanyahu is considered a war criminal now, and so is Yoav Gallant, and so is many members of the Israeli occupying forces, and many people who have offered them credence, offered them protection, offered them guidance. This includes American leadership as well. Just recognize that, this is the reason. It's not for no reason, and it's certainly not because of anti-Semitism, okay?
Families killed. Israel's war in Gaza has been filled with horrors that are hard to fathom. Israel accused of deliberately blocking aid, even as a humanitarian crisis deepens. Today, it led to arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, being issued by the International Criminal Court for their alleged role in the suffering. Judges ruled there are reasonable grounds to believe they are responsible for the war crime of starvation, as well as the crimes against humanity of murder, persecution and other inhumane acts, and of intentionally directing an attack against the civilian population. The court also issued a warrant for Hamas's military commander, Mohammed Deif, though he's believed to be dead, accusing him of crimes against humanity as part of a widespread and systematic attack against the civilian population of Israel on October the 7th.
Another thing that we were talking about, by the way, I like that Vorlo just said, remember the standing ovation in Congress when he was speaking? Yeah, I do remember. And also so does the world and so does Channel 4, because they're literally presenting it. Remember these demons, okay? Remember what these demons did? Never let them forget it, okay? I certainly have not forgotten.
It's the arrest warrants for Israeli politicians that are unprecedented. Netanyahu becoming the first leader of a Western-style democracy to be accused by the court. Here he was in Washington just a few months ago, given a rapturous welcome by Congress.
America and Israel must stand together.
Look at that. Look at these animals, dude. Oh, gross. Barbaric monsters. But hey, they wear suits, so, they're elite. They're above it all. Demons, all of them. This is clapping for Adolf, dude. Straight up. Clapping for Adolf. If there was any sort of real justice in this world, every single person that gave a standing ovation and gave real cover to Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal, would also stand trial. Of course, that will not happen, but that doesn't change the reality. It doesn't change the horror. It doesn't change the reality. It doesn't change their involvement.
Today, he dismissed the charges as absurd, biased, and anti-Semitic. But public statements made by the men themselves form part of the evidence against them. At the start of the war, Gallant said food, water and fuel would all be blocked from entering Gaza.
Has the ADL called the ICC anti-Semitic yet? The Apartheid Defense League? I'm certain that they have already. This is their opportunity to shine, you know? The International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Gallant is a shameful and wholly political action on the part of the court. The ICC's rationale is rooted in the unsubstantiated and specious claims which run counter to the realities of the ground in Gaza and send a disturbing message equating Israel's war of self-defense with Hamas's terrorism. The court has ignored its own principles and practices in service of a political ruling. The court's moral lapse only serves to further embolden extremists and incite violence against Jews in Israel. We urge global leaders to unequivocally reject the ICC's wrong and dangerous decision. Remember when I said they got no motion? This is what I mean. All they can do is chirp, okay? All they can do is chirp about this kind of shit and cry about it. The only motion they got is when they're complaining that some content creators said Sabra hummus is the grossest anti-Semitic crime of all.
Israel's assault on Gaza is continuing. In the north, tens of thousands of Palestinians have been forced to flee amidst fears they'll never be allowed to return. Overnight, dozens were killed in strikes across Gaza.
Children again, by the way. Israel, by the way, while we were having this conversation, Israel has been murdering children at a rapid clip in North Gaza. Just so you understand, like, the situation is still dire and only getting worse, especially in North Gaza. Israel has already revealed its ambitions of permanently occupying it through military force, and they're building roads to the former Israeli settlements that existed in the Gaza Strip already. So that's the other side of the story, obviously, that, like, while this is a little bit, this is a moment of happiness, okay? Just remind yourselves, you know, what the wrongdoings of Israel look like, okay, and how severe they are.
The anti-Semitic decision of the International
you ugly ass bitch.
Court in The Hague is a modern Dreyfus trial, and it will end the same way. 130 years ago, the French Jewish officer Alfred Dreyfus was falsely accused of treason by a biased French court. In response to these false accusations, the great French writer Émile Zola wrote his monumental essay, J'accuse. He accused the French court of anti-Semitic lies against an innocent officer who was later exonerated of all guilt. Now it
just sucks because you can't go to France no more, you know? You can invoke Dreyfus, but you can't go to France anymore. No more French countryside vacations for you, bitch. Oh, pack watch. Oh, so good. It feels good.
International Court in The Hague, also headed by a French judge, is repeating this outrageous offense.
Yeah, if Dreyfus was exonerated, why doesn't he go to The Hague to get exonerated? Yeah, just take a trip. Take a trip to Paris. Land your plane on French soil. And then maybe take another trip to The Hague.
It is falsely accusing me, the democratically elected Prime Minister of the State of Israel, and Israel's former defense minister, Yoav Gallant, of deliberately targeting civilians.
Dude, if I'm Yoav Gallant, okay, well, one, I would, I would not be, because that would mean I'm a monstrous piece of shit. I would use this as an opportunity. You got fired. Maybe you take a trip. Maybe you take a trip to The Hague. And then maybe in order to get a lighter sentence, you say, listen, my bad about all the war crimes I did, all the children that I, murdered. I'll take 700 years in prison, but in return, as opposed to, 1,000 years in prison. And in return, I'll give you everything you want about Benjamin Netanyahu. Just saying. Could be cool. Netanyahu can still visit America, right? Yeah. Here's what the White House press secretary had to say about the ICC and its jurisdiction over Israel.
First time I've had an opportunity to speak to this at the podium, so let me just say more broadly that we fundamentally reject the court's decision to issue arrest warrants for senior Israel officials. We remain deeply concerned by the prosecutor's rush to seek arrest warrants and the troubling process errors that led to this decision. The United States has been clear that the ICC does not have jurisdiction over this matter. You've heard us say this before. Whatever this prosecutor might imply, there is no evidence, none, between Israel and Hamas. There's just none. In coordination.
I just want to point out something that Felix also pointed out, which is everyone laughed at that stupid Tom Cotton post, but the White House's position is pretty much identical. I really hope for nothing but the absolute worst for anyone still working in this administration.
Partners.
And it's correct. It's like there is virtually no different function with what Karine Jean-Pierre is saying here than Tom Cotton. The only difference, I guess, or the only important difference, I guess, is that Tom Cotton is like openly dropping all pretense of civility and is just like, we're gonna bomb you. Like, we're gonna bomb the Netherlands.